All right, this is 7th grade, Module 4, Lesson 1. So we're going to start with learning some percents. And our lessons this week is going to be looking at percents and how they relate to parts of a whole, kind of like we did with the ratios. So we're going to kind of continue with that theme here. So this first little exercise here is a matching exercise. So you want to look at these percentages here and match them with the wording on this side. This allows you to learn when you're reading word problems what type of percentage they may be discussing, okay? So we have 25%. Well, let's look through the ones here that talk about something that would be 25%, okay? Or 1/4, you wanna think of it that way. So I'm half of a half. Well, half is 50, take another half, that gives me 25. Okay, they also gave you this one. I have 5 cubic inches of water filled in a 20 cubic inch bottle. So if I had even done just that one, 5 over 20, and reduced that, I'd get 1/4. So this one right away is right next to it. So we're going to keep it there. 50. So 50 is kind of a little bit easier for us to spot. You know, 50 means half of something. So this one says, I'm less than 100th or 25 over 5,000. Nope, that's not going to work. I am the chance of birthing a boy or a girl. Well, that's definitely a 50-50. Or flipping a coin and getting a heads or a tails. That is a 50-50. So this one goes here. 30%. 30% is going to be less than half, obviously. So up here, 25 out of 5,000. That would not give us 30 if I reduce that. I am less than half, but more than 1/4. That might work. How about 15 over 50? If I reduced this, let's see what we get. That would give me 3/10. Well, 3/10 is 30% if you divide it out. So that one goes here. 1%. So we're looking for something really small. Okay, I already know it's not going to be this one up here. I am equal to 1. Well, that's not going to work. I am more than 1. That's not going to work. I am a 1/10 of a 1/10. 1 penny is the part of $1. That could work. Let's see the next one. I am less than 1/4. Nope, not going to work. All right, so a 1/10 of a 1/10, that is going to give me 1%. All right. Then I have 10%. Well, this one down here is 11 over 110. And if I were to reduce that, I would get 1/10. And again, this would be now 10%. So that's this one down here. 100%. Well, that's going to be equal to 1 because if you have 1 whole, then you have 100%. So that's this one here. 300%. Well, that's obviously the one that says I'm more than 1 because if you got 300% on a test, you got the extra credit. And then half. All right. So if you kind of look here, I know it gets kind of crazy looking at all these arrows, but I always like to check off. This one's been taken. That one's been taken. This one. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Oh, well, is this going to be half? Let's see. 25 over 5,000. Okay. Well, just to show you how to use your calculator correctly, let me get my calculator here. If I say 25 divided by 5,000, what do I get? Well, I got 5 10,000ths, okay, which would be half of a percent. Because if I were to then multiply that by 100%, there's your half percent. Okay, so that is going to be this one way up here. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, let me clear this out. So now we're going to do some shading. We're going to get a visual of how big these percentages are or how much is represented here. So 3 100ths, these are all blocks of 100. You probably remember this from elementary school doing your 100 blocks. So if I have 30 over 100 or 3 over 100 or 1/3 over 100, what does that look like when we shade it in? Well, since the denominators are all 100, that means you have all these 100 boxes. I'm only going to color in the numerator, so 30. So that's basically 3 whole rows here. Coloring in all that. All right, 3 100. Well, that means I'm going to color in 3 boxes. And then 1/3, that means it's not even a full box. It's just a third of a box. I'm going to try and get that in there as best I can. All right, so go ahead and color in yours. All right, now let's look at the table below. I'm going to move this up just to make it a little easier here. All right, so we're going to put this percent, I'm going to write it as a fraction and then as a decimal. So we have 37.5%. Well, we all know that a perfect percentage is 100. So everything is going to be over 100. So I'm just going to write the number here, 37.5, and I'm going to put it over 100. This one here is going to be 100 over 100. This one's going to be 110 over 100. This one will be 1 over 100. And finally, we have 1/2 over 100. Now, if I write this as a decimal, what helps sometimes is to use your calculator if you're not real sure how to move the decimals very easily. So you just divide. It's 37.5. We're going to divide that by 100, and there's your decimal. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write 0.375. All right, now 100 over 100, I don't think you need help on the calculator there. We all know it's going to be 1 whole, but go ahead and put in a decimal and a 0 because we are asking for the decimal version, so that's 1.0. Now, if you have 110, so I'm going to do 110 divided by 100, and I get 1.1. So that's 1 whole plus 1/10. We have 1 divided by 100, 0.01. That's 1/100th. And then this one here, we have 1/2, so I'm going to represent it by 0.5 divided by 100. And we get 5/10,000ths. Excuse me, 5,000ths, not 10,000ths. I apologize. Tens, hundreds, thousands. All right, I was counting that first 0 there. So there you go. There's converting your percentages into fractions and into decimals. In the fraction stage here, oftentimes it's easier to simplify if you have really, really big numbers. It can help you to find your decimal. But in this case, they were all fairly easy on this one. All right, example 2. Example 2 says fill in the chart by converting between fractions, decimals, and percents. All right, so we have one of each in each row, and we need to fill in the ones that are missing. All right, so 350%. Well, obviously, that's more than 100%. So as a fraction, that would be 350 over 100. Now, before I put that in there, I want to go ahead and divide that out real quick. So I'm going to say 350 divided by 100, and there's my decimal version. That's 3.5. So there's my decimal. All right. And then how is this looking as far as a fraction? Well, 3 is 3 whole, and 0.5 means half. So the actual fraction would be 3.5 simplified down. So you want to make sure you always simplify these down as well. All right. Now let's do this one. You always look at the place value of the last number. So this is tens, hundreds, thousands. So that means we're going to put 25 over 1,000. All right. Now 25 over 1,000. You can also take 0.025 divided by the 100. Nope, excuse me. 0.025 times the 100. I apologize. and you get 2.5. Okay, the reason I multiplied by 100 is because we need that 100%. So I'm going to come over here, and that there is my percent. So it's 2.5%, or you could also write 2.5% as well. Okay, now what is my fraction going to look like? Well, look at these percents over here. Okay, or look at this part here. I could say 25 over 1,000, but if I simplify it down, it's actually going to be 2.5 over 100 because this is 100%. So yes, these are my ideal fractions, but they're not in the simplest form. Next one, we have 1/8. So if I come over here and I do 1 divided by 8, that'll give me my decimal. All right, so we have 0.125. All right, now if I put 125 over 1,000, or if I multiply this by 100, either way. So I'm going to say 1.25 times 100 gives me 12.5%. So this is going to be a little easier. This actually is just really to simplify it down to that. But to find your percent, just multiply by 100. So if you notice, all of these multiplied by 100 gave us our percentages. So this one here is going to be 12.5% or 12.5%. All right, let's try the next one. All right, on this one, we're actually going to skip this lesson because this was a card activity, and we're going to be doing something very similar in class. So on this one, you can go ahead and just write skip, and that actually concludes lesson 1. So I hope this video helped.